9/11, 2001. 4 planes change America and the world forever. 19 men, armed with box cutter knives, strike a stunning blow against the mightiest superpower on the planet. Now investigators must discover how the multi-billion-dollar security apparatus of the US military, intelligence, and aviation authorities could be totally blindsided by a simple plot that exploits fatal gaps in their defenses.
From this day forward, the United States and the rest of the world were forced to change and improve their homeland security. The new threat associated with terrorists led to several reactionary policy reforms. Along with the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, border protection and airport security also tightened significantly. The FBI and the intelligence community as a whole improved their communication efforts with the Intelligence Reforms and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, and Congress passed the United States Patriot Act in hopes to reduce terrorism.
The Patriot Act is a U.S. law signed by President George W. Bush on October 26, 2001, in response to the attacks of 9/11. The law focuses mainly on providing tools to the intelligence community, including the CIA, the FBI, and federal prosecutors for identifying and disabling terrorist networks operating both domestically and internationally.
One of the lesser published pieces of the Patriot Act are the sections that pertain to financial actions and the power given to the Department of the Treasury. One of the most powerful tools created under the Patriot Act is Section 311. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network provides us with a summary of the law. This section allows for identifying customers using corresponding accounts, including obtaining information comparable to information obtained on domestic customers, and prohibiting or imposing conditions on the opening or maintaining in the U.S. of correspondent or payable through accounts for a foreign banking institution.
In the likely case of that definition going in one ear and out the other, we will explain the implications of such a law. This tool allows the Treasury Department to label any bank in the world a primary money laundering concern. The beauty of Section 311 is that a simple label essentially exiles the bank in question for the financial market. In a modern, globalized world where every bank wants to do business with every other bank, this has interesting ripple effects worldwide. No other bank in the world wants to do business with a bank that is of primary money laundering concern for fear of being slapped with a 311 action themselves.
The financial aspect of terrorism is arguably the most important part of any terrorist entity, aside from ideology and recruitment techniques. If the terrorist or rogue actor cannot obtain and maintain the capital required to handle logistics, purchase and maintain transportation, buy weapons, and recruit new members, then their organization will be hindered significantly.
Like any legitimate corporation that operates in today's financial world, terrorist organizations need to store their money in a place for safekeeping. For example, a bank. Also, these organizations must be able to make financial transactions to keep their organizations functioning. A useful way of hiding the dirty money is through a process called money laundering. Money launderers need to be creative out of necessity. This process, for example, can involve setting up a company owned by the organizations attempting to launder money. These companies then hide the dirty money by making it appear as profit from the company's apparently legitimate sales or services. In the case of bank capture, money launderers or criminals buy a controlling interest in a bank or make an under-the-table agreement with the bank, preferably in a jurisdiction with weak money laundering controls, and then move money through the bank without scrutiny.
Terrorism and rogue state finance as a system is dependent on money. Without the flow of capital to increase the stock of assets such as cell phones, weapons, cars, etc., a terrorist organization is crippled and the output of the system, violence, is minimized, and the purpose of terrorism, fear, is not realized.
Similarly, a rogue state such as Iran or North Korea deals with the same problems when they are operating under financial sanctions from the international system.
The Treasury Department, thanks to Section 311 of the Patriot Act, becomes a key player in the war on terror. The Treasury Department is now a major threat to the functioning of terrorist finance networks because a number of financial tools at its disposal, made stronger by the increasingly globalizing financial markets of today, can put an immediate halt to illicit activity.
Numerous banks have been hit with the Section 311 action, including Banco Delta Asia in China, the Commercial Bank of Syria, the VEF Bank in Latvia, and 3 other banks in Myanmar.
Juan Zarate explains in his 2013 book, The Treasury's War, one of the best examples of the power of a 311. The action was used against a bank in Macau called Banco Delta Asia, which was found to be helping the rogue state North Korea engage in cigarette smuggling, counterfeiting of $100 bills, and money laundering. What happened was that Banco Delta Asia became an overnight pariah thanks to the scarlet letter given by the Section 311 action. The genius of the 311 is that it simply labels a bank a primary money laundering concern of the United States of America. However, the ripple effects from such an action spread throughout the global economy. The action isolated the bank along with the North Korean accounts worth $25 million. However, nobody wanted to touch the accounts or do business with the bank for the threat of receiving a 311 of their own.
Pyongyang contacted the State Department and the White House to talk about getting their money back. The first time in recent memory North Korea had actually reached out to the US to talk. Every conversation for the next 2 years started and ended with them asking the US for their money back.
The threat of a 311 has forced countries such as Russia and Myanmar to change their money laundering laws. In 2005, the Treasury issued a 311 action on a North Korean bank and North Korea went into panic mode. The issue was brought up during the six-party talks which led to China, often a supporter of the North Korean government, taking a surprising position and saying it too did not want anything to do with the North Korean bank. This shows how a financial weapon can be used to sway countries to act against their own foreign policy and political interests.
The war on terror in the theaters of Iraq and Afghanistan cost over 7,000 American lives. Meanwhile, the Treasury is still fighting its own war on terror on the battlefield of international finance without a single life lost. This provides us with an interesting question. Do financial weapons such as the Patriot Act's 311 carry the same firepower in the international system as a military force?
Maybe. The act is still young and has been tested only 12 times. If the threat of a 311 action proves to deter terrorist groups more effectively than an invasion, then more emphasis should be put towards such programs. Additionally, U.S. defense spending makes up 18 to 22% of the federal budget, and the United States spent more money than the next 14 highest spending nations combined. With the U.S. running such a large fiscal deficit, this more efficient approach to counterterrorism makes more sense as a cost-effective foreign policy alternative to risking American lives by putting troops on the ground. While it is not possible to catch all banks engaged in illicit activity potentially harmful to American interests, this is an under-the-radar measure that is actively helping to win the war on terror.
Thanks to the Patriot Act, geopolitics has a new element of soft power that can affect the foreign policy system. Financial weapons such as a 311 action directly affect private sector. However, shown in the case of Banco Delta Asia, the economic interconnections of today's world allow such a tool to have indirect implications in the realm of foreign policy. Financial weapons such as Section 311 of the Patriot Act, strengthened by the interconnections of global trade, will be of growing importance to the global system and are something to keep in mind when thinking of the ongoing war on terror.